Welcome to this video on BODMAS, BODMAS or BODMAS as some may call it. To get started, you may always be asked a question, what is BODMAS? Or you may be wondering what it is. Well, to put it in simple terms, the word BODMAS is actually an acronym used from a variety of words that's combined to make it one. I believe at some point in your life you had to try and come up with acronyms to help you remember a combination of words, so that's what it is. But for a mathematical stance, BODMAS actually means the order of operation. So order of operation, this says when do I add, subtract, multiply or divide. That is the order of operation. To break down the acronyms, the B stands for brackets or braces. In some cases it's referred to as parentheses, which is just another word for brackets. The O in BODMAS is for off, as in percentage offs, so it has to deal with percentages. And the D is for division, the M is for multiplication, the A is for addition, and the S is for subtraction. In the case of BODMAS and BODMAS, the only difference is the I in BODMAS and the E in BODMAS. The I, it stands for indexes, and the E represents exponents, and both of them represents what we call powers. You will learn more about powers when you do the topic of indices. Before we continue with examples, here are some notable rules. The first rule is we have to perform each operation in the order it appears from the acronym BODMAS. Remember, in the order, that is the order of operations, is what we refer to. So over here we will look at the brackets first. Does anything have brackets? Then we will follow, is there a percentage off or something like that related to offs? Is there a division sign that we have to do? Then we do the division first, then we do the multiplication, then we do the addition, and then we do the subtraction. We keep the order from left to right. Okay, so in some cases, where you will see later on, it's very important to keep the order, because that's how the calculator also solves its operations when we enter a lot of different operations into a calculator. Terms are separated by addition or a subtraction sign. So these are terms that are separated. So multiplication and division is basically a form of creating one term, so that's why they are first. When left with only addition and subtraction, always work from left to right. Right? This is a good practice to work from left to right in mathematics. Some may argue that it's better to work from right to left, especially people doing computing mathematics. But for now, work from left to right, it will help you a lot. Note, not all calculators will give you the same answer, so performing by hand is better, but might be slower. Over here we have a simple example that you might come across in this video, where we have a -2 plus a 4. This is just the same as saying 4 minus 2. So please note, if we just switch the operators, put the positive 4 first and then the -2 last, then we'll have 4 minus 2. So this is a topic that you will learn later on in integers. When you do integers, you will learn more about this, negative numbers, and how we perform operations on them as well. But for the example that we are going to use, we will come across all those BODMAS terms, and we might use -2 as a first number instead of 4 minus 2. Alright, so let's go into the examples. So for the first example here, you can see we brought back that negative root, we have negative 2 plus 4 minus 3 over 8 plus 7 multiplied by 2. It's a very long equation, equals to, so we want basically to get the final answer over here. So how do we go about it? So do I minus first, do I subtract first, do I divide, do I multiply? This is where our BODMAS helps us, right? So to start off, whenever you get a question like this, it's always good to write down BODMAS at the very top. So when you write down BODMAS, even if it's in lowercase, you will know now this is where we start. Brackets. Do we see any brackets, braces or parentheses? No, I don't see any. So we go to the next one. Do I see? Let's also just cancel out the ones that we know we don't need to do. Do I see any offs, percentage offs? No, I don't see anything. Do I see any divisions? Well, 3 over 8, the fraction is a form of division. So we can actually do the division first over here. All right. So this is a division. So once I identify something over here from my BODMAS, it's here, that means I need to do that first. Now for this question, we have two possible ways to solve it. The first one would be to divide 3 divided by 8, and then we get our answer, and then we will follow up with the next question as is in BODMAS, division first and then multiplication. And then the other way of solving this question would be to leave it as a fraction and then just solve the rest of the terms and keeping this as a fraction itself. So for now, we will look at it as a division, and we will perform the division and then find our answer like that. Please do note that I have circled the negative symbol or the negative sign, the minus sign in front of the 3 over 8 because that is a very important identification, okay, for the fraction or for the division that we will have to use later on. Okay, so let's just use our calculator, and with our calculator you will find that 3 divided by 8 equals, this produces, now remember the negative sign, I'm bringing it back, negative 0.375. So that's the answer for division that we got. Okay, so notice how I brought the negative back, and we will make use of that one as well. So division done. So I can just scratch it out over there since we are done. Next comes multiplication. Is there any multiplication that we need to do? Yes, there is. Please do note there's an addition sign here. I will just bring it down. And now we have 7 times 2. 7 times 2, we know that is equals to 14. Let's just use a different color for the 14. So multiplication is done. Then it says addition. Is there any addition that we need to do? Yes, there is. So we are now with this one over here. That's the addition we need to do. Negative 2 plus 4. And remember, we said that negative 2 plus 4 is just the same as 4 minus 2 as in subtraction. So you could see that addition and subtraction, when it's left, it's always better to work from left to right. But in this case, if you are not sure on the answer, you can use your calculator just to do those simple operations if you cannot do them on your own. Alright, for that, let's use the color green. So we know that 4 minus 2 will give us a 2. So now we are only left with a 2 minus 0.375 plus 14, and we can solve that. So that will be equals to, again, note again, if you solve this one first, alright, and notice how I kept the negative sign for 0.375 plus 14. So that negative sign is very important. That's why I grouped them together like that. And it's always important for you to do the same thing as well. So we will see the addition as the following here. You could work with this if you want to work with the addition sign, or you can work from left to right, which will also make sense, right? Remember, that's a nice hefty rule saying if only addition and subtraction remains, work from left to right. It will always help come up with an easier way of solving this. All right. So whether we go this way or whether we go the other way, it will still be the same answer. So in this case, what will remain is a said here would be 13.625, and since this 2 is a positive, then this will change into a positive plus the 2. The 2 just comes and join back down. We didn't use it yet. All right. So now this becomes easier to solve, leaving our final answer as 15.625, and that is the answer that we will put right here on top. That's the one way of doing it. Now remember, I said that you can either, when it's addition and subtraction left, you can work from left to right, and instead of us looking for the addition signs somewhere inside there. So if we work from left to right, we would have gotten the following: 1.625 plus 14, and you would have noticed that this produces exactly the same answer, 15.625. Okay, so this is one way of solving BODMAS. We just completed our addition and our subtraction. Everything is perfectly fine over there. The other way we could do it is as follows. Since this is a fraction, we can leave it as a fraction, and if it's a fraction, then it becomes a term on its own. So we don't need to do that division now. Let me just write down our BODMAS again. So if it's a fraction, we can leave it as a fraction and we work as a fraction for everything else. Okay, depending on what your question wants you to do. All right, so now we know that's a fraction. So we start with BODMAS, no brackets, no offs. Division, no, we don't have division, we have a fraction. Okay, then we do the multiplication first. So the multiplication, we already know this will be plus 14. We already know that's the multiplication that we will get. Okay, and we bring down our fraction. Notice I'm bringing down what we have, and then we can perform the addition already here, right? So multiplication is done. We can perform the addition of this 2. So this we already know it's a positive 2 that we will get from there. So now we have a fraction going up here, and since it's a fraction, we can change all the other numbers to fractions because they are not fractions yet. So we will first put the 2 over 1, and we'll put the 14 over 1. And if you recall, or if you have not done it yet, when we are adding and subtracting fractions, we have to make the bottom the same. I call this the bottom the same, which means the denominator must be the same. So in this case, we will just multiply the bottom by an 8 to make it an 8. What I do at the bottom, I also do at the top. So I will multiply this 2 by 8 so that we can have a fraction that looks similar to the one that we need to perform the operation on. Again, notice my negative 3 over 8, I'm keeping the negative sign or the subtraction sign close to the fraction so that it identifies it. All right. So over here, what we will have now is the following. Let's use purple. We will have 2 times 18, that's 16 over 8, minus, just to quickly get the board working a bit. Okay, there we go. Minus 3 over 8, and then we have plus 14 times 8 will give us 112 over 8. Now it's a fraction. So with fractions, when the bottom is the same or when the denominators are the same, then all we need to do is to basically add or subtract the numbers that are on top, which is the numerators. In this case, we have again a 16 minus 3 plus 12. So if you are working again with the addition sign, because BODMAS says we have to do addition first, please do note that the negative here identifies this whole fraction. You cannot separate the negative from the fraction, okay? So that is important to note, that the terms I separated by that, but this is like one term on its own. Please note that there is a positive in front of this sign, but there's nothing to add it to, so we do not write down positives there, okay? So just note, this is one thing. We have carried it over the whole time and we cannot separate it. So now we say negative 3 plus 112. That will give us, negative 3 plus 112 will give us 109. So negative 2 plus 112, that's 112, will give us 109, and then we add that, please note, to the 16 over the 8, right? I just tried to remove this. Remember the rule that we said, it's better to work from left to right. So if we had worked from left to right, we would still get the same answer regardless, and it would have been much more easier than going to the other side. All right. This gives us a total of 125 over 8, and you can use your calculator to divide to find out what is 125 divided by 8. So at first it will give you a different answer. Since we are dealing with fractions, we could leave your answer as a fraction. We'll get an improper fraction which will reside in 15, and then we have 5 over 8. That's what our final answer will look like. But if you just divide it normally, you will still get your 15.625. These are the two answers or possible answers that your calculator will give you after you divide it. 125 divided by 8. So just take note of that one. Please do note that our final answer again is 15.625, which is exactly the same as what we got in the previous method that we used. Alright, so I just showed you an additional way to solve this using fractions, so that we can already look at some possible fractions that we can do as well, applying BODMAS to fractions as well, because at some point you will be expected to do it as well. Alright, so let's continue to the second example. In the second example, we have negative 3 times 4 divided by 2 plus 6 times 3 minus 8. And again, you can see it's a whole lot of information and it's difficult to know where do we start. So again, for mass, always write it down. It's good practice so that we know anything that looks crazy enough, like equation like this or an expression like this, write down BODMAS and then we know where to start. Alright, so brackets, do I see any brackets? No, I don't. Do I see any offs? No, I don't. Do I see any divisions? Yes, I see a division. So there's a division, so I can start doing the division. Note there's no negative sign here, and this means this could be one term. Remember, terms are separated by addition and subtraction signs, right? So I'll do the division. 4 divided by 2, that will give me the number 2, multiplied by negative 3 plus 6. Okay, before I even write 6, we can immediately do it from the diagram itself. Right, so division is done. Next will be multiplication. Please note that this multiplication we are not doing immediately because we had to do division first. So there's a number that changed here. We're not multiplying negative 3 by 4. Okay, now it's another number that is here, which is the 2. So we had to bring that down first. Okay, the positive sign separates terms, so I can work out this term on its own. All right, So that's now division is done. We go to multiplication. Let's just underline multiplication. So 6 times 3, that will give us an answer of 18, and then we bring back the other minus 8. Alright, so we are not done with multiplication. We still have a multiplication here. That was the first multiplication, so this is the second one that we need to do. So it's negative 3 times 2, that will give me a negative 6 plus 18 minus 8. So this is our last bit of equation that we need to now complete. So addition we can do first, work from left to right. So if I know negative 6 plus 18, if you do not know how to do this, you can use your calculator to work out this one. Or remember what we said is you just throw the 16 over, it becomes 18 minus 6 first, then you get your answer. So 18 minus 6 will produce a 12. Okay, that's this answer here. And then we need to do the final one. That's the negative 8 we did not use. So that is now 12 minus 8. And this will give us a final answer of 4. So that's how we do BODMAS as well. So our final answer of 4 is what we get. Now notice how we had a division here, but this could have also been 4 over 2. Okay, it's just the same thing as a fraction. So just take note of that one as well. Alright, so this is where we get 4. If you had done anything else, for example, if you had started with 3 minus 8 and then you want to multiply it, you might end up with a very different answer than what I got and what your calculator will get as well. So some calculators are not programmed to do BODMAS, and you have to basically enter the numbers in for it using BODMAS itself. Alright, so we completed all of this as well. So just take note again. I just followed the rules, addition first, then subtraction, and then I still got the same answer. Remember again, if you work from anywhere around, you will still get the answer, especially when you are only left with addition and subtraction. This is basically the law that we have. And remember our identity laws. The negative 8, I keep bringing it down until the very end because I didn't use it all the way. That was then minus 8, minus 8, minus 8, and minus 8. So I keep bringing it down all the way until the very end. Alright, just to show you. And the negative stayed with it. Okay, yes. Alright, so that will be it for BODMAS, and I hope that this will help you perform some of the calculations for yourself. Alright, thank you for watching.